there was some, it didn't feel like a lot until like I sit down and I talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing things. But yeah.
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 So in that time, okay, it serves, you're there for 4 years and you're coming to the end of it, and like what's the thought process? Well, in that time also you traveled.
Yeah.
Your goal was to see other things.
Yeah.
So you went to Trinidad, you went to St. Croix and Cuba.
Cuba. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that. Tell us what that was like, and how did you, was it study abroad only?
Yes. So it was study, well, not St. Croix, but Trinidad and Cuba were study abroad. At Vassar, they're very, as I said, liberal arts school. They want you to see the world. They want you to have a well-rounded education. So we have this thing called JYA, which is junior year abroad. Okay. So it's very like the standard for you to take at least a semester, not off, but away from Vassar during your junior year, which is your 3rd year. They really encourage it. It's also, it really works out for international students on aid as well, because a lot of schools outside of the US are cheaper. So
the money goes further?
Like whereas I didn't have a full, I had like a 95% scholarship at Vassar, everything was paid for me when I went to Trinidad. Like I even got money back. Like, so I literally went to Trinidad with about $3,000 like pocketed from my scholarship money.
Gotcha.
Because it's like, that's a scholarship you're assigned for the 4 years. So if I'm not at Vassar using it up, the money is still assigned to me. So yeah, y'all should consider Vassar. So I didn't actually plan to go to Trinidad though. I really wanted to go to Greece. Greece is still on my bucket list, still don't reach, but I really wanted to go to Greece. Things happened, applications mixed up, like it just didn't work out for me. And so they were like, you have 1 more week to figure out if you want to go abroad. So go and choose another program and get back to us. And so I was just going through the programs. Of course, you can't just go anywhere. You have to choose a program that will align with what you're studying. And at the time, I was doing a math major, but I had a Africana Studies minor, which Africana Studies, the program that they offered in Trinidad was based in Caribbean Studies, which falls under Africana Studies. So I kind of swindled them in a way and ended up going to Trinidad. And it was really good. So the basis of my time in Trinidad, of course, I was at UA. So I was still doing math classes. I definitely had to prove to them that I would still be doing these things, by the way. It wasn't just send or go.
Yeah.
So I had to find out which classes I was going to take at UA, find out the, what you call it now, like the syllabus. Yeah. And be able to prove to Vassar, like, oh yeah, the same
equivalent
abstract algebra that they're doing at UA is the same one that I'd be doing here, kind of thing. So I was taking math. I did a double minor, so I had biology as well. I took biochemistry while I was there.
Girl, you were doing a lot.
I was doing a lot.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. I was doing a lot.
I did not digest a double minor. Maybe you told me.
I don't think I mentioned it. No.
Okay.
So I was doing math, I was doing bio, and then I was also doing carnival studies is really what the program was. So yeah, the program involved, a part of my academic participation in the program was me jumping carnival or playing mass. So I did get to play mass in carnival for free. Well, not for free, but it was a part of my program. I had to be on the road taking notes. Because we had to write a paper about it afterwards. You know, I learned a lot about the cultural significance of mass and, you know, difference between old mass and pretty mass and all of these different things. It was very, very eye-opening. In that same program, they also were like, okay, you come to Trinidad, we're in an English-speaking country, learning a lot of English-speaking Caribbean culture. They wanted to expose us to a Spanish-speaking culture as well. So that's how I ended up going to Cuba. The entire program, we spent a week in Cuba. It wasn't all fun and games. We were doing lectures, but you know, still got to eat Cuban food.
How was that?
It was...
Some people do not...
Yeah, some people don't mess with it. Yeah. It wasn't bad. I did not have a bad experience. Except one restaurant we went to that was... I've trauma blocked it from my mind. But everything else was great. I enjoyed Cuba. I would go back to Cuba. We got to go to this like art club that Beyonce went to. Like we had a time. So went to Cuba, came back to Trinidad after that, wrapped up the program, and then came back to Jamaica actually, and spent I think maybe like 2 weeks in Jamaica, and then went back to the US because I was like, okay, fun and games are over. I basically spent an entire semester where this was the only semester that I did not have a job. Because remember I told you I was working at school.
Got you.
You couldn't work on your JYA. So I did not have a job. So I was like, I have to go make some money.
Yeah.
So I went back to Vassar. Vassar graciously has a program set up that allows international students to stay on campus and work throughout the summer.
Nice.
So that's what I did.
Because that's usually really hard at a lot of schools in the summers. You don't know what you're going to do.
You don't know what you're going to do, yeah.
And if you go home, it's a lot of money to go home.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going to stay. A lot of the times also you need money.
Exactly. I have so many friends from like Asia who never went home the entire time they were at Vassar. They just stayed on campus.
It's expensive.
Yeah. Stayed on campus and they worked. I also got some like farming experience because I was in this like co-op at the time as well. So after my job, I would leave and go to like the farm and we'd garden, weed out the garden. I grew a very large zucchini. We did like summer crops, so like zucchinis, pumpkins. We were getting ready for fall.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very good experience. And after that, I have a friend who is from St. Croix and she invited us there. So in October, we have a break in October, just a mid-semester break. And
you went
it was two of us. We went to her and yeah, it was a time.
Yeah.
It was a time.
So, all right, tell me now about how you ended up coming back to Jamaica, because you said to me around about the time of the 2016 election, or
yes,
you explained to me that there were some things happening in the political space and what you had to deal with that you weren't prepared for.
I was not prepared. I don't think any Jamaican, I don't think any foreigner
was,
even Americans,
they were stressed out.
Everybody was stressed. Everybody who wasn't a white Republican, I think, was stressed.
Yeah. And even they were like, we're getting the result we want, but I'm confused.
There was a lot going on. And so I think at this time, at the time of the election was when I was a student fellow, Ari. And so I am now responsible for, I think my fellow group was like 13 kids. Or they're not kids, they're young adults. But it was 13 of them. Freshmen just coming into college. A lot of them were international students. I guess because I was an international student, they ended up placing me with a lot of other international students. So we're all in the same boat. We don't know what the hell is going on. We just know Donald Trump is now in power and everybody's sad. It also didn't help that the day that that election was announced, New York was gloomy. Like it was
foreboding. It was one of those.
It was a dark day. And so I felt like there was a lot of responsibility on me to comfort these students who didn't really know what was going on, didn't really understand. And I myself didn't really understand, but I had to learn to be able to support them, you know. And so also at the same time, the Israel-Palestine conflict was also gaining some traction at my school. There were a lot of like protests for, I don't even fully understand what was going on at that specific time, but that's when I learned about that conflict. I didn't even know that conflict existed before going to Vassar. And so it was just a lot of political conversations. I mean, growing up Jamaica, the only political conversation you hear is, are you in greenhouse or orange house, right? Whereas up there, it was like, Trump don't like black people, Trump don't like Mexican people. And
sending everybody away.
Sending people away. ISIS, you know, tearing apart homes, and children are being bombed in Palestine. And like, I was just so incredibly overwhelmed with all of this information that was so sad and like so concerning. I also was very worried about my own safety and the safety of my mother and my sister and all of my other family that's in the US. You know, it's like I just didn't know how to fully process that. And I'm not gonna lie, it did push me in the direction of wanting to come back home, because I was like, this rough. That life here rough. I also, of course, at the time, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Like, was Trump gonna be president for the next 8 years of my life? I didn't know, you know, and so it was a lot to think about. It was very gloomy. My school is a very liberal school in terms of everybody's talking about politics almost all the time. They're very tuned in. We're very tuned into like the social and political climate of the world, and so there's always conversations like that going on. Mind you, Poughkeepsie is also a red town, so it's like this one little liberal school.
I miss a lot of blue.
I miss Trump supporters basically. So it was just like a lot of tug and pull. It was just a lot of. So yeah, so I was like, let me go back home where the only concern is pothole and light bill, you know?
Right, but you didn't make it home right away.
I didn't.
So what happened there?
So, well, I had the rest of, so this happened in my second year.
Yeah.
And obviously I knew that I still had to finish.
Right.
That wasn't an option to drop out of college. Especially because I knew whether I was in Jamaica or the US, having a degree was gonna be to my advantage, wherever in the world I am. So I knew I had to finish. I must say, I am very, very grateful for being a part of the CSA, the Caribbean Students Alliance. We were so supportive of each other, and especially during that time, especially dealing with a lot of the politics that none of us really understood. So I think having them there helped to make the next 2 years manageable. But then at the end of it all, I was like, okay, now I have to make a decision. Am I gonna stay here or am I gonna come back home? And I think in a perfect world, I would have stayed. Especially because I knew I wasn't ready to come back home in terms of like, I would have loved to get a job up there, but I knew that I didn't want to go into math. I didn't want to go into finance. I didn't want to.
But you did the thing. You did all the applications.
I did all the applications. I did the interviews. I did it because I was like, this is just a means to an end.
Right.
So I very much was like, let me just tough it out.
Let's commit.
For my OPT, for my 2 or 3 years. I was a STEM major, so we were also, I think,
eligible
to get an extension on your OPT.
So that's a training period as an F1 student. You have a training. Each international student gets up to 12 months, but when you are a STEM major, science, technology, engineering, math, you can get an extension up to another 2 years. For a total of 3 years, because those majors are needed.
So I was very willing to do it. Nothing was coming up though. The application process was rough. Realistically, you are now just competing. Whereas like when college, they'll tell you, when you're applying to college, you're really competing with international students. There is a certain amount of diversity percentage that the school wants to fill. So you're not necessarily competing against American students when you're applying to college. That is not the case when you're applying to a job, right? When you're applying to a job, it's just who is going to do the job the best.
And a lot of them don't want to deal with the international stuff.
Exactly.
So even if they'll look at your application, if they can find a local-based, a resident, a national who can do the job, they will take them.
Because they don't want to have to
visa sponsoring and all of that.
Exactly. And even if they say we don't sponsor visas, but you have your OPT, a lot of them will still not do it because they'll be like,
you're going to need it eventually.
Maybe one day she's going to want it. Is this a conversation we're going to have one day? I don't want to deal with that, you know? So again, I did the interviews. I would like to feel like I did well in the interviews, but ultimately it didn't work out. And my mom, who lives in Atlanta, was like, I could she had some friends, and she was like, I can get you a job at like, maybe like FedEx or something. It was like one of those like postal services. And I just remember like thinking like, I really don't want to do this. And at the time, I think I was so used to being like on my own and independent. I was like, I don't really want to move back with my mom just yet. I don't really want to, I worse don't want to do it just to do something that I don't really want to do. Like, it felt like I was going back to starting, you know, from before I went to college. So I said, you know, my father is in Jamaica. He's living by himself in Jamaica. He not have a girlfriend or nothing. Sorry, Daddy. And I have a life in Jamaica that I already know. I have family here. And I knew that I could get a job here because before leaving Vassar, I got a call from Nicole that was like, what are you doing? Are you coming back to Jamaica? If you don't find a job, I have a job here for you, basically. So I had gone back to Atlanta after graduation immediately, spent some time there trying to figure out what to do. Am I going to come back to Jamaica? Am I just going to stick around with my mom? Kind of was helping another college counseling service with doing reading essays, just for like extra spending money. And yeah, ultimately I came back home by the end of that year. So the end of 2019, I was back in Jamaica.
So just before COVID hit?
Just before COVID hit.
And
yes.
What was happening with your business? When did Wonga, like what happened? When did that actually start? And this started from when you were traveling?
Yes, so when I was traveling, so as I said, in 2018, Trinidad, Cuba, St. Croix, I was eating a lot of food, a lot of different food. And so I was taking out pictures of all of this different food because I was like, oh my God, these are things I've never had before. And so I was just like, they're sitting in my phone, taking up dust. Like, what should I do? And so I just decided to start an Instagram page. I wasn't trying to be an influencer. I wasn't trying to be a content creator. I wasn't trying to do any of these things. It was just like, oh, just an avenue to share my things, you know, that I've been doing, my travels. So I remember my sister and I were like, what should we name the page? What should we name it? And at the time, everybody was into like the 876, the JA, you know, foodie JA, you know, Jamaican foodie kind of thing. And I was like, at the time, I didn't know where I was going to end up. So I didn't want to do something that was going to commit me to Jamaica or pigeonhole me to Jamaican food. And then I'm not even living in Jamaica and not eating Jamaican food regularly. But I am Jamaican. So I wanted it to be something that represented my identity, but in a more subtle way. And that's kind of how Wonga Gyal came about. Because, you know, Wonga, yeah, Wonga belly, or Wonga gut, it was something, I was very familiar with the term. People call me that all my life.
I'm done.
So it wasn't something that, you know, I was familiar with the word. And I was like, you know, Wonga, let's reclaim the word. And of course, Gyal is Jamaican. So yeah, that's how Wonga Gyal was born. And so that was back in beginning of 2019, end of 2018, around that time. And since coming back to Jamaica, I have been able to, you know, broaden the scope of that with working with a lot of Jamaican brands. And this literally just came out of me continuing to post while I was here. Again, it wasn't I'm trying to be an influencer, I'm trying to be big. It kind of just has evolved into this thing very organically. And from that, my friends joke and call it the Wongaverse, or the Wonga Empire. So from that, I've kind of just, in a way, like developed this brand of the Wonga world. And so when I decided that I was gonna start my digital marketing business, it had to be Wonga Media. Like, it had to be Wonga something. And so yeah, that's how that came about. When I came back to Jamaica, I ended up falling into digital marketing because I was working with Nicole for a little bit, and Nicole introduced me to who would become kind of like my digital marketing mentor. Big up Des. And so I worked with Des for a little over a year, I learned a lot from her, she really baptized me into this marketing space, I will say. I also worked with a PR company that was based in New York, but I was here in Jamaica. I worked with them for about 3 months, got some experience working with like international clients as well as more on the PR side as well. And yeah, it was after that that I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm just ready to, I already had some clients. So it was like, why not no longer be a freelancer and just formalize it in a way, you know, just commit to it. At the time as well, I was getting more clients and I was like, I need to hire somebody. I cannot be a one-woman show anymore, because it was like, there's wonga media with my clients, but then there's also wonga gyal, which is me. Like, it's it feels sometimes like running 2 separate businesses. So I was like, I need help. And yeah, I made my first hire in 2024? 2022. And it's been going on. It's been going on since then. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So you told me something before when we did our pre-interview about one of the reasons why you chose to come back. And it was a personal reason. And we don't have to go into the specifics of it. But I guess how much did that shape your decision to come home? Like, not just, okay, what was happening in the world, what was happening with the application and immigration and stuff, but how much of it was just like purely personal, purely wanting to come home, and then, you know, like give us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, I will go into some detail.
Okay, up to you.
People joke about Vassar and call it a 4-year dry spell for black women, black straight women. It is a thing. We joke about it.
Is that serious?
It's not even a joke, but we joke about it on campus all the time. And yeah, I'm a product to that. I will say I definitely was at Vassar. I mean, I had a great time. I met a lot of great people. I have made connections with friends who I will definitely, like, last a lifetime kind of thing. But I had no romantic prospects, not a single one. Everybody was either not interested in me or gay. And I'm not gay. So it was just, you know, lonely in a sense. I did have a partner during that time, not the whole time, maybe like a year, which ended very badly. And so it was like, okay, I'm here in America. The entire time I've been here in America, I have not had a single potential suitor. And I can't lie and say that didn't make me feel bad. It didn't make me feel away. Everybody who had looked in my direction while I was away was Jamaican. Or like I knew them from before, and now that we're like out of high school, they were trying to talk to me or something. And I was like, I like this for me. I like this for me. And so it wasn't a big contributor, but it had to play a role because it was weighing on me emotionally.
That's real.
And I thought, you know, like, and it also didn't help that every time I would come back to Jamaica during that time, my current boyfriend now, I met him while I was here in between, like during Christmas break, you know? And so it was just like, every time I come to Jamaica, I definitely end up with meeting new people. I am interested in people. People are interested in me. And then I go away. Nothing ever comes of those connections because you're now away. Nobody wants to be in a long distance relationship. I surely didn't. And yeah, never did nice.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's something people don't talk about enough. But when you're like in transit, especially in school and you're going back and forth, it's like, are you picking, if someone there isn't a good prospect for you, then what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah. All right, so we're coming close to the end. Let's talk about tips. You gave some tips earlier about stepping out, like if you know what's for you and not what your parents, so that was helpful. tips for people who want to start their own thing and who want to observe process. So you talked about trying to get this, what's it called? And you still haven't gotten it
Oh
yet.
God, the CARICOM.
The CARICOM.
The CSME certificate.
Certificate.
So yes, I forgot to mention that as well, that when I came back to Jamaica in 2019, I still wasn't even 100% sure that Jamaica was it for me. I love Trinidad though, and I was like, I'm going back to Trinidad, you know, like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start my life, I'm gonna be a Jamaican in Trinidad and da, da, da. In order to do that, you have to get the CSME, CARICOM CSME certificate, which allows you to work, as a CARICOM national, you can work in any CARICOM country as long as you have the certificate.
Okay.
That was a whole process that is still not complete, as I told you. I still don't have the certificate in my hand, but it was very long. Having come from a U.S. institution, a U.S. college, I had to do a lot of accreditation, like have them basically compare my degree to a UE degree and see if it was equal. And of course, that costs money. That's not free. And it was just a lot of back and forth. You fill out the form one time and somebody tell you it's okay, and then them call you and say, JK, you need this other form. It was just a lot of things going on, and it was very stressful. Why I don't have the certificate to this day, because they don't call you to tell you that the certificate is ready, and you have to keep calling them to find out if it is ready. Of course, I don't answer the phone. And then eventually it just got to the point, I already had a job in Jamaica at this point because this was taking much longer than anticipated. So I ended up, that's when I started working for Nicole, and I just say, you know what, this might just be a sign.
Yeah.
I need to just sit my ass down right here and stay.
So you gave us, in different ways, multiple reasons why this became, like you came back and this has been it for now. All right, so you're here, all these things. So could you summarize, based on all your experiences, and give 3 tips for people who want to move back home? It doesn't have to be Jamaica home, but
just home in general.
Yeah, from being away for a while.
Yeah, I'd say number 1, listen to your gut. Because I know that sounds cliche, but a lot of people are worried about how it will look if you come back home. Especially when you go foreign.
Yeah.
When you go to the US or even the UK and Canada, people expect that you're escaping your third world life to go and live in glamour. And that was something that I thought about. I was like, how am I going to explain this to people when I come back? How am I going to confidently tell somebody I chose to come back to Jamaica? But I just knew that that's where I needed to be at that point in time. And everything was kind of telling me that that's where I needed to be. Like, not getting the jobs I wanted, not getting my CSME certificate. Like, you know, everything just kind of aligned for me to be here. And I knew it all along that I needed to come back. So, 1 tip, come back. Follow your gut. And no business what people have to say. Because it's your life at the end of the day. My second tip would probably be, don't stay anywhere that you are not 100% clear on why you're there. A lot of people end up staying illegally in the US, Canada, the UK, and they don't really have a plan. They don't have a plan of, okay, how am I going to get out of this situation that I'm in? To me, I don't think it makes sense that you take a risk if there is no clear purpose, you know? And for me, I was like, I don't even know if I want to live in the US long term. Why am I going to try and swindle my way into staying here? So I came back. I'm like, let me come back. Let me get my ducks in a row, think about it. And then if I want to go back, I go back and figure it out. But I just needed time to be very clear about it. And I think sometimes a lot of people aren't super clear. Them just say, me need to go foreign, and that's it. And being in foreign is not a bed of roses. I will tell you that. It is not heaven. It has its own issues. And then I guess my last piece of advice would be, what would it be? What would my last piece of advice be?
Take your time, or if you only have 2, that's fine. or if you want to make it business related.
Business related, okay. I could do some business related. I guess my third piece of advice would have to do with business, and that would just be, if you're passionate about something, invest in it. And that investing doesn't just mean money. It's like, be comfortable staying up late at night watching YouTube on how to better your craft. Be comfortable knowing that you're gonna have to work weekends, especially if you're trying to start a business and be an entrepreneur. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, how a lot of people will say, oh, you own your own business, that means you set your own hours and you can do whatever you want. Why are you so stressed out? You can da, 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 da. And I'm like, yes, that is true theoretically, but like, I also want my business to grow, and I'm so passionate about growing my business that if I have to work on Sunday, I'm gonna work on Sunday because the work have to get done. If I don't do it, sorry, I'm not at the point where I can say if I don't do it, somebody else is gonna do it.
Right, we're not there yet.
Fingers crossed, we'll be there very soon, but if I don't do it, it's not gonna, you know, I'm trying to make future Tiana happy, you know? So yeah, I would just say be willing to invest, and sometimes that investment involves sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I will say, you know, if I never came back to Jamaica, I don't know that wonga media would be a thing. So everything happened for a reason. And a lot of people to this day still, you know, will say like, why did you come back to Jamaica? Every time I say it, people, I get those upturn like,
Yeah.
why you would have done that? Da, 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 da. But everything literally worked out in what I think could have been the best way possible. My current partner and I would not be together today if I didn't go abroad.
Big up.
In fact, yeah, big up Bradley. Anyway, I'm there. You should be coming home soon. I was wondering if it was like gay, but yeah, we wouldn't be together if I didn't come back to Jamaica. Wonga Media wouldn't be a thing. I wouldn't have the team that I have right now. I wouldn't have reconnected with some of my friends. I wouldn't have had the connections that I've made with some extraordinary Jamaican creatives. You and I probably would have never connected.
Sorry.
You know? So everything happened for a reason. I strongly believe in that. And yeah, just trust that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, I don't have anything else. Girl, she's preaching, okay? She's saying some very valid things that we all needed to hear. So with that, I am going to sign out now. Thank you so much for watching Repat Stories. Follow us on all socials. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, the works. Find us there and connect with us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.